Hey, what's going on, everyone? So, as we know, the Game Awards will be airing soon. An event brought into being by Geoff Keighley, a man who has now made a name for himself, and rightly so. As regardless of personal opinion, the Game Awards has become a massive success and one of the biggest gaming events of the year. Even being host to some of the first reveals of some of the world's biggest names in gaming, and many of us will never forget seeing that Breath of the Wild trailer, which is still the best trailer I've ever seen, by the way. And of course, the reveal of other games like Bayonetta 3, which was confirmed to be in development during the show. Just by dropping these names, you can see that the Game Awards has made it big, and this is, of course, great for the industry. But at the same time, I'd like to give my own thoughts on who I feel should represent this industry we all love, and how I feel that pulling in Hollywood celebrities, for me, in the long term, is possibly the wrong approach. So we recently found out that Christoph Waltz will be a presenter at this year's Game Awards. Christoph Waltz is a stunning actor, there's no doubts about it, and this video is in no way a rant about him as an actor, or even essentially him coming to the Game Awards. Many have even speculated that this his inclusion could be a possibility of him being in Hideo Kojima's Death Stranding game. The game no one knows anything about still. But joking aside, as a presenter, I'm sure Mr. Waltz will do his part with sophistication and class. Something that Geoff Keighley has in many ways tried to bring to the Games Awards. Elevating the show above your normal average event, and this has become more evident as years has gone by. But for me, I've never really been a fan of people who aren't truly connected to an event, playing as a host to something they don't really understand, or like I said, aren't actively a part of. So them possibly thanking or congratulating someone on something can in some ways feel a little forced or ignorant, and can leave the receiver or the viewer thinking, thanks for this introduction or award, but it's a bit weird and surreal coming from you, if you know what I mean when I'm going with that. It's kind of like, if you watch Strictly Come Dancing, right, and you have a judge on there like Alicia Dixon, someone who I love, by the way, but you can't help thinking that yes, she was on the show before. Yes, she's a good dancer, so she's connected a little way, in that respect. But does she really know anything or enough about ballroom dancing and all the dances that come with it? In order to give an informed and experienced opinion on the technicalities of the dancers' performances, I don't think so. So when she hands out that 10 out of 10, there is no denying that most of the British nation don't really count that as a true 10 out of 10, if you know what I mean. Especially if the other judges don't give out that same score. But anyway, crazy analogy aside, let's get to the core of this rant. There are names in gaming I feel that deserve more praise or attention than they get in the general public eye. So when I look at these events like E3, like the Game Awards, etc., I feel that this is one of those times where these names can be brought into the limelight for the general public to actually see who they are, what they look like, and also be given some history on who they have affected in the industry, or what part they have played in the industry over the years. There are, of course, separate awards for things like for this already, those Lifetime Achievement Awards as an example. But at the same time, I personally love to see these people also presenting these shows, so we see them in more of their own character, than the one we see, giving a humble and short speech on stage and then disappearing back into the shadows of the gaming world, which happens quite a lot in this industry compared to others. And this leads me into these people handing out awards as well, and congratulating those developers who most likely got into gaming in the first place because of these people, which would make these receivers of these awards feel vastly more humbled, connected, and perhaps awestruck in their sense as their personal video game celebrities shake their hands or welcome them on stage. But let's get something straight here. I'm talking about real gaming industry personalities here, not the likes of these big named YouTubers, like that Muppet Jesse, as an example, who messed up that EA presentation, if you remember that, or any other YouTube celebrity for that matter. Let's be honest here. No game developer, I feel, worth their salt wants to receive an award or be presented on stage by a YouTuber, no matter how big they are. And in that respect, as I'm not even talking about regular game developers either. Mostly because they're probably closer to fans themselves than people who have truly inspired others or have yet to perhaps make a name for themselves. So I'm talking about industry names that are important in some way and should be known amongst the gaming masses and wider world, I feel. One of those first names that came to mind was Ian Livingstone. Ian Livingstone was one of the co-founders of Games Workshop, the same Games Workshop that helped to popularize Dungeons & Dragons and also created the Warhammer series of games and board games and stuff. Both franchises becoming incredibly huge and also becoming inspirations for many people who went on to create their own fantasy worlds and video games. Ian Livingstone, along with Steve Jackson, also created the Fighting Fantasy series of fantasy books, a series of books I also grew up on and was greatly influenced by. All of these IPs have also naturally spawned their own video games as well. Ian Livingstone also went on to join the video game industry, way back in the early 80s, and later was a part of Eidos Interactive, the same company who gave rise to the likes of Tomb Raider and Hitman, and I think we all know the influences those games have had on the industry. Ian's connections, experience and contribution to modern sci-fi, fantasy and gaming are incredible, and he's done enough talks in the past to be able to present a show with sophistication and class and experience. So yeah, he was one of the first names who came to mind. How about other names like John Carmack, co-founder of id Software and an integral part of the success of Wolfenstein and Doom. Once again, games that have had a massive effect on not just on games but also on modern pop culture. You got Warren Spector, a man whose contribution to gaming should never be underestimated. With the likes of Deus Ex and Wing Commander, Thief and Ultima as well. And he's also worked with Disney on Epic Mickey and other large companies. Michael Morhaime, the co-founder of Blizzard Entertainment, a company whose impact on modern gaming culture, online, and a wealth of other things shouldn't need any introduction. Or how about some well-known and influential composers like Grant Kirkhope, famed for Banjo and Kazooie, GoldenEye 007 and Donkey Kong 64. Everyone should know these people. Everyone should know this man, for what he's done for gaming. How about David Wise, a man who has been composing video game music since the 80s, and it's also famed for games like Donkey Kong Country series, Battletoads and Solar Jetman, just to name a few. Jason Hayes, the composer of World of Warcraft, a game that arguably has as well composed music as the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which is another thing to highlight. The fact that video game compositions can rival and, in my opinion, many times beat that of Hollywood and even the music industry. If you're into this industry, so once again, I feel like we have our own celebrities. Let's also get some female representation up in there. Evelyn Novakovic, another composer, famed for the Donkey Kong Country series, amongst other games. These people worked on classic video games that, like I said, have affected modern day culture. How about Amy Hennig, a prolific game designer and writer on the series, like Legacy of Kain, Uncharted, and I believe she'd done Jak and Daxter as well. Jade Raymond, another prolific producer who helped with the creation of Assassin's Creed, a series that has reached Hollywood, and also someone who has helped with the continued success of the Sims series, another massive series in gaming. Or I tell you what, to completely throw my rant on his head, I feel if you want to get celebrities to present these shows, from outside of the industry, then let's get people who we know are still actively involved in games, have experience and love the industry, as well as those people who we know could present such things in a sophisticated, entertaining, and classy manner, just as much as any other Hollywood actor. People like Zelda Williams, who I think would be a lovely presenter of the Game Awards. Game Awards. She's worked with Nintendo, been on adverts and stuff, and she's active on social media. She's a lovely person, and Robin Williams, for me, he's my favorite actor ever. I absolutely love the man. Or how about even say Jimmy Fallon? I'm not a huge fan of this guy, but he is an active gamer and also actively promotes games on his talk show, a show which has even seen industry giants like Nintendo on there. Or how about recently, Henry Cavill, who we know is another active gamer and could certainly present this show with style and charisma, and we know he loves games like the World of Warcraft, like the Witcher series, and is an active PC gamer. If we're going to go crazy with money and budget, and even more crazy, let's drag in Steven Spielberg, who has always been involved in video games. These are big names. I don't know if the Game Awards is quite there yet, but when we look at names like Christoph Waltz, we get the impression that now the Game Awards are really building up and they can pull in these big names. And I do feel like many of these people would happily present or host or give out awards and stuff on these shows, and maybe this will happen. So kind of what you look forward to. But listen, all I'm saying is just I feel like we just need to get the right people instead of people who we know don't really know enough or perhaps even care enough about gaming to present what is ultimately a show about video games and the people involved. And if you're wondering why I haven't mentioned the wealth of utterly influential and cultural defining Japanese developers, artists and composers, that is only because of the language barrier. But even then, I'm sure many of them can speak English, which we know, and I'm sure there would be ways around it, and not only that, but I'm sure many of them could present these awards just as well, and of course be the admiration of many of the developers and attendees who have received these awards or are there to view these people who are part of this industry. So to finish up, I know why Hollywood celebrities get pulled in. It's obvious. I know why this happens. I'm not denying their impact or their skills to do such events. All I'm saying is that the industry, the gaming industry, has their own celebrities, and we as gamers and the industry itself should be building these things up from within and not continuously looking outside of the industry for commercial awareness. It's time to show the world that gaming is indeed as big as the movie and music industries, and indeed has its own celebrities who have influenced modern culture as much as others. So anyway, I'm done here. Mini rant over. Let me know your thoughts on this. Of course, it's I've always quite an interesting topic. But as always, I'll reply to every single one of you who made the effort to comment in the comment section below. And as always, take care all. Peace.